Off the record, congratulations. And it's just the beginning, right, with Share? I did watch it.
This is Katja Meier, the creator of HARE, a series that challenges the industry norms by centering a 59-year-old woman as its protagonist, a bold move in a film world.
I prepared for this day for such a long time. Of course I'm ready.
When told her target audience of women over 50 wasn't valid, Katja took matters into her own hands, funding and producing the pilot herself. Born in Switzerland, Katja Meier began her career on the stage, performing Shakespeare and Goethe across German-speaking Europe. In her mid-20s, she traded scripts for a backpack and embarked on a journey that would redefine her life. Now living in Tuscany, she's a mother of two and splits her time between the family's olive groves and the vibrant worlds of film and entrepreneurship. In this episode, we explore Katja's transition from acting to filmmaking and the beauty and the challenges of independent filmmaking.
I'm gonna ask you, how would you like to run this conversation? We'll keep it short and to the point. The audience are auto filmmakers, studios.
And I listened to a couple of your podcasts, so it's interesting for me also to, listen the sort of people you brought in. To me, whatever, you go ahead and I'm very happy to talk very broadly about Share and what we're doing. And I think we've got a lot of sort of interesting points in common with Olyn, what you are doing, how you try to disrupt the industry and what we are trying to do on our side. So I'm super happy that we found each other. So I think there's a lot to talk about that. Yeah.
There's definitely a lot to talk about. We will not exist without you. And that's where we sort of set our duties right now. And we feel with huge responsibility at the same time to provide as much possible, as quick as possible, as we are evolving as a company too. Mm. And I would love to, Katja, get to dive into the conversation, starting more talking about yourself and your life and how things have evolved for you to end up in the film industry.
Okay.
And how does that lifestyle look like?
Yeah, not what you think, probably not what I thought it would look like. But yes, so I think I was an actor when I was very young, in my early 20s. That's a long time ago. I left theatre a long time ago, went abroad, travelled, etc. But at some point I sort of got back to storytelling. I was a blogger. I lived in Italy already then, and a blogger and a copywriter. And I ran a refugee home in Tuscany at some point over 10 years ago. And I wrote a book about running this refugee home, and I self-published that book. And that's very relevant to what we're doing now with Olyn. So that's 7 years ago. I was thinking, should I go the traditional route with the book, or should I self-publish? And self-publishing a book has many parallels to what we're doing now with Share. So the book was supposed to become a film. That project has died in the meantime, but I wrote a script for it, and I realized I really like script writing, and sort of that's why I'm sitting here now today. So I basically wrote many scripts. Some of them are in a drawer, safely stored away, will never see the light of the day, but this one, Share, was the sort of script that I got early. I got a grant in Switzerland, and that's a really interesting foundation that actually enables creators or filmmakers, or also not just filmmakers, to work on an idea early on. And it's a bit like in the startup industry. I don't know what you'd call it, maybe seed money or something, that you really start early because they're interested in helping people to change the industry and to get different stories onto the screen. But to do that, people need support early on, and not just, not everybody can just develop an idea and work on it for months or years and not getting any funds. So that helped me to start working on it. And then the script won an award, the Writers Lab. It's an American screenwriting competition that's brilliant for women 40 plus. That also came to the UK and Europe. And that's when, when I remodeled the script in a way that I could produce it with my company on a sort of small budget with a small crew and cast, because we thought we really want to go on an adventure and do this ourselves.
It's interesting how you evolved, right, from being an actress. So from like it seems you covered all the all what encompasses and what requires to make a film. Like you need actors, so you might be very able to empathize with all these people when you start working with them, right?
Definitely. I think also what's important, sort of my past in the creator economy, sort of with the blogging, with social media, with all of that, with the self-publishing, I think gave me a different angle also on what filmmaking could be. So part of what we're trying to do is really rethinking these big crews and these big teams and sort of thinking, could we do this with less people in a more sustainable way, in a more respectful way? Because basically the campsite where we're filming, it's an incredible place up, near a glacier in the mountains, and you've got a film on your platform about melting glaciers. So that's really what's happening there. And at some point with our director Katja Meier, we were talking about this. She sent me pictures from a shoot she was on, and I saw these trailers and diesel generators, and I thought, wait, I need to rethink this script. I don't want to come up here with with 100 people filming this thing. I'd really like to do it in a respectful way that works for this place. So we're not sort of destroying this place. And that's where the whole past in the creator economy was useful, when I thought, okay, wait, there are people out there doing incredible things on YouTube, on social media, and then you can also look to documentary filmmaking. How are they doing it? How can they create this sort of content without the need of 50 people on set? So that's sort of what we're... And to do that, of course, I had to rethink the script. So I had to sort of go back to the script and say, okay, how less locations, smaller cast.
Right. And, I think there are very powerful movies that it's like a solo acting. Like I remember the story of, or this recent movie I've seen, Perfect Days, that with Japanese actor, and so simple and so elegant that like it almost stretched time. It felt almost like a meditation watching. So I think there is so much art in simplicity, and but it needs a lot of confidence for sure, and focus and attention. But don't you think, like with AI, like all these resources can like that today are very costly, can reduce drastically? Like you just ask AI to fill some people, and I'm not sure if you've heard much about this new era of filmmaking with AI in the story, and how do you see that changing, right?
Yeah, no, I'm very interested. I've always been interested in new technologies. I also work with AI in sort of in the writing process, and I also see its limitations where it's getting generic, or so it's a question of finding out where it works and where not.
I definitely do not wish to see AI in participating in script because like it belongs so much to human. I was more saying, for example, for science fiction or
or in our case, there's we have a editing, or we have an avalanche at some point in the story something that's gonna happen, and it's gonna be very interesting to look into how can we do that. Either you use footage that's already existing. We definitely don't want to go up a mountain and blow up an avalanche somewhere. So there must be better ways. And I think in situations like that, it's going to be very interesting.
So how did you get the avalanche?
So there's a moment at the beginning, and so that's stock footage. But going forward, we will have to show more of that avalanche. So we have to have images that we can sort of play with differently. So that's something we're we're going to look into AI with that, definitely. Yeah.
So you're dedicating your life into entertainment, from being an actress to building Zenka films to writing scripts. What drives you? What do you think entertainment owes to its audience, and that's the reason why you're in it?
To me, as I said, I mean, I started out as an actor, but I've done many other things also in my life. So when I moved to Italy, I worked as an olive picker, as a wedding planner. I run a refugee home. So to me, that connection is very important. That we don't lose in the arts or in entertainment. That it's not turning into an ivory tower. That can get very boring, I think, when we're sort of in this bubble and not really connecting anymore to the people whose story we're actually telling. So that is what I'm trying to do. Or that's when, as a viewer, as an audience member, that's when I get excited, when I feel the story I'm watching, somebody really knows what they're talking about, whether that's intellectual or not, or sort of an emotional connection. But I think you can often tell stories that sort of when the script is sort of cardboard, it's not really, people research something for an afternoon and then write about it. That's just not really how, that's
Absolutely.
not working for me. So I think that sort of connection to, to me, real life has the best stories. I mean, you can't compete with reality. I mean, look around what's happening right now in the world. You really can't make
it's hard
that
to
shit
believe
up.
it.
Yeah.
It's more science fiction than reality for
Yes.
for most of us, and I'm concerned about this numbness of having hard times to understand, like, simultaneously as we're talking, the madness that we're facing in the world. Definitely, I think entertainment, it's like a liberation. It's educational. It builds empathy. It makes you leave someone else's life. I think it's as books are, it's one of the most powerful mediums to bring people closer. And I'm so much looking forward for the liberation. So, like, there will be a much bigger proliferation on creativity that can spark, and the accessibility for watching those films, like reducing that to just connecting the filmmaker with its audience. It's definitely been one of our, like, major obsessions in the last year. And the more we navigated this path, the more we understand that the audience is craving. It's like craving for so much out there, and they are, and that's all a filmmaker needs to know that, right? And seeing that right now you're embarking in the same journey, I'm very curious from your perspective. What do you think? Because, as from a company, like, it would be bad for me to say otherwise. But on your own words, what do you think it's so broken in the industry today?
Yeah, many things. I often think I'm always surprised how the creative industry isn't creative. And sometimes people say, yeah, that's the business people in the film business, they're not creative. But actually, I've worked in other industries, and people are very creative. Business people can be super creative. So I often think in the film industry that it's so resistant to change might have to do with its sort of top-down structure. The film industry is super hierarchical, which has to do with film sets, how, you have sort of a chain of command on film sets, etc. There are some good reasons behind that, but it also means that it's really an industry that's very resistant to change, and change is normally coming up from the bottom of sort of the people who are working in the lower ranks, and they're having a hard time being heard in the film industry. So for me, that's why what you're trying to do with Olyn, or what we're trying to do with HARE, we're having sort of a manifesto where we're trying to work differently in a more collaborative way. Filmmaking is collaborative, has always been, but to sort of rethinking this sort of top-down approach and how we can structure that differently. And that, I believe, also has an input on our creativity, on how, for an example, we're going to have Japanese subtitles. Why? Because our catering, the caterers, they are Japanese, and they're incredible cooks and incredible people. But they also were able to translate the script into the dialogues into Japanese. And that's something, you suddenly have a new connection where on a normal film set, the caterer, they're doing their thing and you don't really talk too much to them. You say maybe thank you for the good food. And when you suddenly have sort of these creative conversations where suddenly the caterer can say, you know what, in Japan this would work really well. The Japanese, they love Heidi. Heidi is a Swiss story. They love the Alps. You say, oh right, that's a market for us. You're right. So you can rethink these, and that to me is very empowering, where this sort of compartmentalization, where each department does their thing and they're not really talking much to each other, or they always sort of defend their space.
I can empathize with what you're saying, Katja, because this is what has made me a huge passionate of the internet, and dedicate my life to work in technology. And one of the things that it resonated with me as you were speaking is the internet's foundation was people want to share and be participant and connect. And that's how we got Wikipedia. That's how we got people writing blogs. And there at the beginning and even now at Wikipedia is nothing in return. And it's hard for us to believe like such dynamics can happen unless like you're in it. And then when you feel and you have that feeling, like it's almost like you can never go back from it. And this is... I think open source, believing in the open sourceness of it, that like knowledge can come from any sides and everybody, like it's there to offer help and the elements to open horizons. I mean, with Share, as you were speaking about it, it's a series that I think it's going to have a great success. And I love the script and I love the story that you're trying to tell. What's the magic? Are there any techniques? I mean, for everybody that it's listening to this, to keep the tension and get that feeling of like, oh, I want more. It's like, is there a form of organizing the script, or it's like more into the acting?
No, there's definitely yes. That's on the script level. You have to sort of structure that and think about that, how with a TV series, but even more if you do what we do, you stream online, you really have to get people to sort of, you have to get them involved so much that they will want to watch episode 2. And that's something you cannot decide on set. You have to sort of work on that before, and then maybe on set interesting things are happening that you can use. So improvisations of actors or decisions the DOP or the director make will also influence that. And then in the editing, above all, actually our story changed a little bit with something the editors brought in. So it's not like this is a script and that's how it has to be, but the base, you sort of have to, I often think it as a sort of a chessboard, and it has to be set up properly, and then you start moving it around, but you need to know what you're playing, the pitch has to be set, and in that regard, the industry, of course, Hollywood has amazing crafts and a knowledge about storytelling, so there's a lot you can learn. You don't have to sort of throw out the baby with the water. I love entertainment, so studying script writing, there's incredible skill in the industry. The question for me is more afterwards, why I've read so many brilliant scripts of peers of mine, to writers who've been on the writers lab with me, etc. Why are they not being filmed? What's not happening there? Something is, these people get on these labs, etc., brilliant writers, and then nevertheless the script ends up in a drawer somewhere. So that there's an issue there where I'm not, what I'm doing now, what we're doing with Share, is really trying to figure out how can we make sure these brilliant scripts we're reading, that more of them get onto the screen. Yeah.
Because you, Katja, like what I admire of you is you are from very active in the film industry, but you do have a profound background on participating projects that have a social impact. And some of these narratives, you use them to focus on integration and shine personal stories. So like what you're trying to achieve from the viewers as you, half of you feels like responsible to address current issues that we suffer as a society, like from inequality to
I think sort of if you look at Cher, at the story of the protagonist, she's trying to change an industry, the commodity trade and mining industry. That's a really difficult industry, very male driven industry, has not a very nice track record historically. So she's up against huge forces, but she really wants to, because she inherits a part of the family business, and she really wants to do better. And sort of what we've been thinking or discussing as a team is, okay, if we tell this story, but how can we tell this story and sort of being inspired by the protagonist ourselves, and actually what she's doing in the industry, we could also do in her industry, in the mining and commodity trade industry. We can also use her approach in our industry, in the film industry, and rethink transparency, for an example, in the film industry, which is often missing. Or this top-down approach, or what I said before, this lack of creativity in the business sense. So the exciting thing for us isn't just telling this story, but also sort of contemplating, okay, what does this story mean for us? How can we act differently and more film more sustainably, be more responsible, and at the same time also have fun. It is entertainment, so it's an exciting story. She's going on an adventure basically, and we are going on that adventure with her. And our, sort of, I guess the way we came to Olyn was exactly because we were looking around thinking, is there a better way to get to our audience that is more transparent again, more equal? So I having been a blogger, I always loved that I was able to access the statistics, the data, etc. And then you get into the film industry and suddenly you realize you have, as a creator, no access to any data, and that's a huge red flag, because as we all know, the data is where the power is. That's and so there are sort of the questions we are asking. What's happening there?
Yeah.
So it's sort of reflecting, the story Share is reflecting on our production approach, and I think that's interesting for the audience too. Mainly we want them to enjoy this story and be inspired by the story, but I think some people will also be interested to see what we're doing behind the camera.
Right. Because yes, I mean, this is one of the things, like is you can only get better if you have access to data, if you can connect with the audience, if you can burn that bridge and build that bridge and sort of like, and that's what we call democratization, like the networks coming closer. Mm-hmm. You've expressed it, you articulated it perfectly, and you guys are just at the beginning. And for me, it was great success. You guys were featured. The article was more read than like Trump news, right on his like
for a few minutes we Trump, yes.
And then like Forbes, and this is just the start. One of the things I think is the independent distribution definitely comes with a lot of work, comes with a lot of freedom, and with freedom comes with a lot of work. But sky's the limit from going to podcasts to be in a curated list that do ratings, talking to bloggers, and you never know where is like that vein that like gets you viral. But one of the things that internet has always proven is the more you do, the more it rewards, and consistency is one of the keys of the things. And there's a lot of inspiration out there. I've seen movies that have perfect profiles built from time ago before it was even launched to create this momentum for themselves, and then people picking those stories and sharing and saving it on their so I think this is just the beginning for something big. one of the beauties of these assets is that they can spike anytime. Like during COVID, a lot of films for 2006 that were talking about sci-fi pandemics were on top of the viewers. I was like, how can they actually know the value of those films and the brands that are like being again reminded, because one film had a lot of Reebok gear in it, and then like there are some sales that kind of like had a spike. There is a domino effect for sure in all this, and
but it is, as you say, it's, I think that is important to mention, that it is a lot of work. So you're not, I think often as artists, we hope we're doing this great work. I mean, I know it from my book, you write a book, you really get it to the best level. And then you sort of realize, but it's an industry. And just because the level of the work is really high doesn't mean it will sell. Now it's the next step. And as a filmmaker, the earlier you start thinking of that, how is this going to sell? And that's something that at the lab I mentioned at the beginning in Switzerland that funded the idea early on, they're very early, they're sort of asking those questions. Who is your audience and why? How will they find you and why will they watch it? And it can be really annoying as an artist because you're just like, I just want to create my art and I want to tell this story. But the sadness of all these books and all these films, brilliant, really works that are never seen because this hasn't been thought through. They're sort of like a drop in the ocean, and of course it helps if your work is really your art is curated and well done, but you need the first step is you need to get it out, because it can be amazing, but if nobody ever sees it, then what's the point? Because you really want to bring it to the audience. And that is the hard work.
So it's very interesting you're saying this, because I think unlike any other product, entertainment in general is for all audiences. I mean, the only thing like will split is the genre and the age. Not age as the audience age, but the parenting protection.
Okay, yeah.
But I mean, I don't know why the assumption will be that this will be a show that my sister will not like. She's a young girl and she might want to see how life of my mother would be like. I always watch things like my mom is like, hey, you should watch this, and maybe I wasn't the audience for it, but I connected with her because it meant something for her, and I kind of knew where her brain was when she watched it, or I insist on some genre that my parents will never watch, or some of my friends, but they happen to like it, and I do the convincing. You gotta see this. Oh my god! Like wait for it. It has a moment, and then maybe there is like but I take a huge part of, and then I did convincing on movies that they were like, no way, like I'll never watch this, and I'm like, come on, like I really want to watch it, and I loved it. So that's why I'm like, it's a very dangerous thing to just like assume that there's a particular audience because they'll respond or empathize. Most likely I liked movies, and in general when we did this surveys to see what people think, if they stick to some preferences, if they go to sensationalism, and it always comes to, it's an act of empathy and connecting and learning things like you don't know. So watching a movie that like you might about the war in a country or the romance in a certain place, it's a form of empathizing with that particular type of society or type of situation. And that's why I think it's very fragile to make this exercise and ask for a direct audience straight away. And this is where I was like, when I was watching Share, I'm like, it is for everybody. Actually, it is also for men. It is also for young people. It is for me. It's just so entrepreneurial.
Yeah, it is. That makes me happy that you say that, because it really, I think a lot of the streamers, that's really what they're looking for shows that that the whole family can watch.
Yeah.
But they're always thinking, they're looking at it from they want to reach the young people, and then hopefully the parents will watch it with the young people. That's sort of the normal approach.
Yeah.
And we are sort of coming from the other way. We are doing this show for women with and about and from women 50 plus. And then it now sort of
Yes.
breaches over into the younger generations. And that's really beautiful and really refreshing to see that that happens. It doesn't mean that we are boring the younger generation. The younger generation is really interested in Lena's, what she's trying to do, our protagonist.
So I think this is where we have a problem in the industry, if you ask me, that like this assumption that there is a kind of a known thing of what people want might neglect the fact that people want something so different. People want to be surprised. People want to be shaken. And you know, you went right on time with the launch of your series at the same time that The Brutalist launched. And in the Oscars, the pitch was like, nobody would have like bet on us ever. They said it's going to be terrible. They said nobody's going to watch it. And apparently like they only move forward because they got some external budget and a good actor in it. But until the Oscars, that's why it's like so haven't been yet released, where other films already have been streamed before the Oscars. It's because nobody decided to buy the rights yet. And they won. And what strikes me is, wow, I can't wait to watch it because it's so artistic. It's so, and I'm on that type, but it might be so unexpected, right? And I think the more information, like we only grow as people when we face the unknown and we enrich ourselves, not when we're given more of the same. We don't go and eat the same dish every day, and we even explore and try dishes that we might not like. So that's who we are as people. And I think the industry should by default think reverse. Otherwise, there's no way real creativity and real golden hidden gems will see the light. But definitely, like you know, I did a post, and one of the podcasts that I had with a filmmaker was, hey, 5 years ago, being on Netflix would have been the most, like, I would have been so proud. I would like call everybody. And he's like, nowadays, not at all. Like, I don't think my art deserves to be mixed with that type of a catalog that it's like immediate sensationalism. And this is where, Katja, I'm so excited that like you got all this energy and power. And I believe it's going to be such a great success. It's going to take time, but definitely you're leading the way. And you're setting an example for other filmmakers. So it's not just about the audience anymore. It's really about like getting to understand how things could work from another angle.
Yes, thanks so much. It's you know, for me that is really important. I always say that I'm also an audience member. So yes, I want to get HARE on screen. I really want to continue. We have this incredible team now. We're having such a good time. We had, you know, it's I really want to keep doing this, but also I'm an audience member and I want to see different stories, and if HARE can help to sort of, you know, we all have to find our own ways, but if we sort of can inspire a different road that could be taken, then that makes me very happy, because that means certain stories that aren't being filmed in the industry for whatever reasons, they might suddenly appear on screen, and that would make me happy as an audience member too.
That is like that is the point for me. Looking like the question that as we were talking kind of came in my mind is, this is the beginning. So what's for Zenka? How do you envision Zenka films in the next upcoming years? What keeps you the most excited besides the seeing like the HARE succeeding?
Okay, so definitely HARE is it's taking up a lot of our time at the moment. It's our main project. And, you know, I'm thinking of 4 seasons of HARE. Ideally, we'll stream all of them on Olyn independently. But when I did some startup accelerators with Zenka Films, because I was always interested in figuring out because again, in the film industry, very quickly people tell you, so no, this is how it's done and this is how you have to do it. And I was always wondering, wait, give me a moment. Is it really necessary? Is there another way? And that's where the startup industry is really interesting, where you're always encouraged to rethink concepts and approaches, etc. So when I did one of the first accelerators I did, I sort of formulated in my pitch deck, that was the idea was that what I'm trying out with HARE, what we're trying out with HARE, is becoming like a formula later, the Senka formula, or whatever you want to call it, that other people, other filmmakers can use also, that it sort of can rethink the way they approach filmmaking. And it's going back to what I said at the beginning, looking at different types of filmmaking, documentary filmmaking, or the creator economy, or just sort of crossing over in other fields and learning from each other, and helping to lower these crazy budgets so that you can actually, because that's the issue, isn't it? People are so afraid to do different things because it's so expensive. It's so expensive to shoot. And if we can get the budgets down, stories that nobody would want to invest into because they don't trust they have a market or whatever, they can suddenly get on screen. And these are things we've seen in the creator economy happen, people who wouldn't have gotten a foot into the traditional industry suddenly
this is where I believe like AI is going to reduce a lot of those budgets and enable I would say this. I met once, this was like long ago. I met my best friend was dating like this guy that he was the responsible of setup for Fast and Furious, like the guy responsible to just crash cars, and he had a 50 million budget to crash cars. And I was like thinking, my God, if you give me 50 million, I will like change the world, like startup, like I might. And you use that budget to crash cars. So I was like, with AI, you just don't need like to have that crazy budget for something like 10 years from now. It will be like an element you implement and they just crashed. But
God, yeah. And it's. I mean, we're all in the same boat. As a writer, I can also, and I see it. I use AI, and it's becoming very good at imitating. I can feed it my writing, and then it imitates my tone and even my sense of humor. Sometimes it gets it, sometimes not. That can be all very useful in a situation where I have to write emails very quickly with this all. A lot of the work I'm doing at the moment, but. I think what it can't substitute is this unique lived experience that you have, the unique outlook on life that I have as a writer, that an actor will bring to the table. So that's where. So I'm super interested in new technologies and how we can use them. And I can give you an example where we used AI in HARE. I needed a photo of Lena's brother died as a young man, and I needed a photo of him, because his father looks at the photo in one of the scenes. And I've sort of been thinking, should I go thrifting, find a photo of a young man from the 80s, and he needed to be in a ski suit. And that was super easy, that I was able to create that photo with AI, and also sort of took because he has it's not a very nice story. Anyway, I can't go into that because I'm going to spoil the series. But it was just like, thank God I have a tool now. I can do this, and I had so much fun creating and playing around with it. So yes, absolutely.
Now that we're revisiting this, Katja, the AI discussion, I do think that, without doubt, AI is going to be incredible tool for distribution, enabling you to meet the audience. What are like the latest bloggers? Where are like the latest trends talking? Like, there's no excuse today that one cannot. That one cannot go and search for its audience. And like journalists are transiting from working for big newspaper titles to go and Substack and have their niche audience. Like the question is like, the journalist said, hey, with like 1,000 subscribers, I have a living, and that's it. It's what is like that threshold of an audience that one filmmaker can say, with that, I can get you what you want, and keep feeding you
I've been thinking a lot about this because there is this exactly what you say. You need like 1,000 fans, and then as a artist or a journalist, or you can sort of make a living depending a bit where you live, etc. But you can sort of and I try to translate that. What does it mean for us? We're a big team. We're 25 people. I mean, a small team for the film world, but a big team compared to the creator economy. So of course we need 1,000 fans. Won't cut it for us, but But we can think, we do the same calculation and think, okay, we need more fans. You know, we've got this 500K challenge now. We want to find 500,000 people who pay for the first episode. And then we can produce the whole season 1 of Share, totally independent, stream it on Olyn and get it out there. And of course, maybe we won't have to reach the 400K because some people also support us with an extra. They do a pay it forward thing, so they pay for the view, and then they like the pilot and say, you know what, I'm gonna pay for an extra 5 views. Or I had recently somebody paying for an extra 100 views. So it might be something in between, but that's definitely what I have in mind when I think about independent distribution is finding this crowd, the people who love what we're doing. And I think back to Olyn, what you guys are doing, what's so fabulous is I get the direct connection to those people. They sign up with their email address when they buy the pilot on your platform. And if one day you guys do whatever you sell, I don't hope you will, but to somebody I don't like, I can move forward and go somewhere else with my content and with these people. And the problem we have in the creator industry, like Instagram or wherever, which I love, the Instagram, I still do, I use it a lot, but we are locked into that system. We can't get out of it. Yeah. And that's a fabulous thing you guys are doing, which is one of the reasons why I'm on your platform. You're transparent. You give me access to the people, to the who are watching our pilots, and I can take them with me.
It's the only way to kind of like go back to like how Shopify does it and everything. It's your asset and it's your audience. And when I wanted to kind of like get in between of what you were saying with the 1,000 fans, you're totally right. The thing is, like, a fan with a blog is it's just the relationship has with the blog. But when I'm a fan with a movie, it's something like, unless it's shared, like entertainment, it's by default shareable, otherwise doesn't exist. It's almost like I don't have a conversation with a person. Like, we're strangers if we haven't watched the same thing, if we haven't watched the same show, because what is there to talk so much about besides the tragic news and the weather and the life challenges? So entertainment always brings a new vibe in the conversation, and that's why I think like the people, if they're 1,000, they take the responsibility to pass forward, talk forward, do the job, catalog. And what strikes me is that there are better profiles cataloging movies on their Instagram or their forums than the streaming platforms themselves. And those are like a powerful force of convincing, because I follow a few and they're never failed. And usually are movies that I've never heard before, but I just trust so much their taste. And this boutiqueness, it's going to appear more and more. And that's how we see the future sort of going towards this enrichment of catalogs that can niche preferences and enrich the audience taste.
Yeah. And where you have that a certain independence again, where somebody can actually review something, or how can I say this? Back to the publishing industry, when I was sort of a total newbie to the publishing industry, I always thought when you walk into a bookshop, the books that are on the table right when you get in, that those are the books the bookshop selected because they think these are the best books. And then you find out, oh no, that's the books they get the best deals on, because they also have to survive. No offense there, I understand. But you sort of realize, because they have to make a living, so they have to push the books that the publishers gives them a better discount on. And where does that leave me as a client? I thought that's my table where I'm getting a sort of curated selection of their best books of the whatever, right. And it turns out no, it's much more complex. And finding somebody who can actually review something, that's just very hopefully that's, I mean, what we see now with Share. You know, some people, I had the other day an email from a woman in Australia who watched Share on your platform, and she said, look, I've been up the whole night ringing Australian radio stations telling them, you have to talk about Share. These guys are incredible. And that sort of thing where you have a person, a lady somewhere in Australia, in Adelaide, I think she is, just ringing up radio stations because she was just so happy with what she saw and so inspired. And that to me is why I'm doing this. You know, that's just the best experience. And also I think, okay, we're coming across and we're able to get to somebody who'd never find us on whatever big streaming platform we might be on.
That's incredible. You see, like, this is the magic that, like, we expect seeing, but I think behind the magic there's so much talent, and I think Share it's gonna like really set a path that has just started, and I'm so excited for you, Katja, and I congratulate you. I think it's brilliant work. I congratulate and I so much admire the social impact that you dedicate your life towards. I'm really in awe, and there is so much beauty in the way you explain things and almost give another tone to how entertainment can be built. Something like it opens horizons and inspires. And the story alone, as I said, it really got me hooked.
Thanks.
And I hope I hope to see very soon, like, that displaying further. One of the things I always end up the podcast with is something a little more personal, such like, what are your favorite films that and you know, like, I always catch people off there, like, and like, oh, am I allowed to say this? And not like, you can respond or not, but definitely we must say it. It's a curiosity, since, like, oh, it's about Share.
So I watch a lot of series. I write series, so I watch a lot of series. I love Hacks, of course. Hacks is brilliant. It won a lot of awards just now, but even before it won those awards, it's just, to me, an incredible scripts, writing, acting, everything. And another show. There are two shows that I'm always surprised that, at least maybe in Europe, I feel they're sort of under the radar. Reservation Dogs, which is a TV show about a group of young people living in a reservation, and maybe in the US it's more well known, but I think that's for me that's been a huge inspirational show. Also, I think they worked with a small budget and how they dealt with it. I think it's really fabulous. And then in Europe, there's The English, a show called, I think it was filmed in Spain, actually, which I also absolutely love. And my brain, I'm terrible with names.
The English Manager?
No, it's just called The English.
English.
And it's, oh God, she's the actor, the main actress or actor is actually, is it Emily? No, I'm gonna this terrible what I'm just going. I have no idea what I know who she is, but I can't remember her name.
Yeah, don't worry.
But basically, The English. I can Google it if you give me a moment. She is incredible, but especially the way the scripts are written. You know, some shows you just wonder why is this Emily Blunt and Chusky Spencer, and I think it's Hugo Blick, the creator, and you have to watch it. It's incredible, and one of those shows where you think, why is not everybody talking about this? It's amazing.
Amazing, Katja. Thank you so much. It's been inspiring. It's been insightful, you know, and very much looking forward to catch up soon, to talk again.
Yes.
About Share success.
How the journey's going. I'd love that. And you know, I can only just say, I mean, thank you for having me, but also thank you to you guys, because we've been like working for the last 2 months now with Olyn, and you're just a very cool group of people and an amazing team. So this is really making this possible for us. So thanks to you also, what you're doing. very excited that we found you.
Thank you so much.